When did George Kambosos become the measuring stick? This is what's baffling me. Because I remember you guys disrespected. Whatever. Let's talk. George Kambosos fought Devin Haney twice. He fought Vasyl Lomachenko, and he fought Richard Hitchens. He lost all 4 fights. But the crazy part about this is when Devin fought George Kambosos, he had just beat Teofimo Lopez in America, in New York, in Teo's backyard. He took 3 belts with him and the franchise, actually 4 belts, with him back to Australia. So he was undefeated when Devin fought him. Devin went to Australia and beat him twice in his own home. He got degraded. He got downed. He got disrespected. Out of nowhere, y'all were telling me that George Kambosos is the worst. George Kambosos is not good. I called him Bozo. That's what I called him, simply because of the things that he was saying about Devin. Yet you guys disrespected him because you said he wasn't good. And the reason why he wasn't good is because Devin was fighting him. Nothing else. He just beat Teo and offered Teo a rematch, which Teo turned down, but that didn't matter. The simple fact that he was fighting Devin, he automatically became trash. When Teo beat Lomachenko, Teo became the king, the best in the world, the top dog, the man. When George Kambosos beat Teo, he became nothing. All these excuses. Oh, well, Teo really wasn't himself. He had boogers in his nose and his mouth was wet and he had air in his lungs. That's a mean combination. That combination is the reason why he lost. His mouth was wet. He had boogers in his nose. He had air in his lungs. And guess what, y'all? Keep this between us. But his eyes was moist. He didn't have dry eyes. So because of that, that's why George Kambosos dropped him and beat him in his backyard. But he still had enough to do a backflip after the fight was over with. He still had enough, even though he lost. He still had enough air in his lungs, or enough non-air in his lungs, to do a backflip still, of which no one cares about. But hey, let you guys tell it. And Teo almost passed away. He was almost unalived because of the air in his lungs. But that didn't affect him from doing a backflip after he lost. It didn't affect him. Needless to say, George Kambosos got no credit for that win at all. Well, he did at first, until he said he'll fight Devin Haney. And as soon as he said he'll fight Devin Haney, all of a sudden, he immediately was half the fighter that he was when he beat Teo, instantaneously. Then you guys told Devin, that Devin, if that's what Devin wants, then Devin's got to just take the offer. He got to take the flat fee. No, you said you want undisputed. You got to take what you're told, do what you're told, take the offer. I don't got no sympathy for Devin. He said he wants it. So if he wants it, go get it. I don't got no sympathy. That's what you said you want. You can't turn it down. Till Shakur Stevenson said he wanted undisputed. But that's a whole different story. Yeah, y'all, because y'all started crap on Devin because you knew Devin was taking a horrible, horrible deal. You knew he was taking a horrible deal. So you wanted to crap on him to take it. Take the horrible deal, doesn't matter. You said you want undisputed. So take it. Devin took it. Went over to Australia, washed this man twice in his home, and then all of a sudden, George Kambosos is the worst fighter that's ever walked God's green earth. We all know George Kambosos was trash. We all know George Kambosos wasn't good. We all know this, and we all know that, and we are the world. Ooh, we are the children. Yeah, y'all just switched over to whatever y'all want to switch over to. Degraded, down, disrespect, all kinds of things. Oh, Tank would do this, and if Tio in the rematch would do this, and Shakur would do this, and everybody would beat George Kambosos out of nowhere now. Everybody. They would all beat him. But George Kambosos was scouting all these guys. George Kambosos went to the Tank fight calling for Tank Davis. George Kambosos went to Devin's fight calling for Devin. George Kambosos was calling for all these guys. Facts. Tank told him to keep the belt. Shakur didn't say nothing. Devin was like, what's up? All facts, bro. All facts. And then people were talking, literally, before Devin said he agreed to take that offer, they were saying that George Kambosos would beat him. Nope, I don't want to hear nothing about him being robbed. Nope, nope. Y'all say you got the best jab and blah, blah, blah. Nope. I think George Kambosos is a washer, man. You see what George Kambosos did to Tio, man. George Kambosos is good. Until Devin said, let's do it. And then all of a sudden, George Kambosos was trash. How ironic that George Kambosos was trash. He went, lost to Devin twice. Fought Maxie Hughes and arguably lost that fight too. And mysteriously fights Vasyl Lomachenko out of nowhere. And when he fights Lomachenko, now all of a sudden, George Kambosos is the goods all of a sudden. George Kambosos is back to being great. This is prime George Kambosos that just beat Teofimo Lopez. He's about to fight Vasyl Lomachenko. At BF, this fight was already set to happen, BF. So all they're doing is going back to a fight. Yeah, cool. That's what's up. Sure. But you guys told me George Kambosos was trash. So how did George Kambosos become good when it's time to fight Lomachenko? So y'all couldn't justify that. So what you did is you didn't talk about how George Kambosos is Devin Haney's leftovers. No, you moved the goalposts. Now it's, well, Lomachenko stopped him. So what? So? Because Lomachenko stopped him. So Devin beat both Lomachenko and George Kambosos. So what? So because Loma stopped him, what? So what does that mean? Oh, but he beat him better. Because he beat him. A win is a win, bro. A win is a win. What is wrong with y'all? So you mean to tell me if you guys get an opportunity to smash Salma Hayek or Holly Berry, you get an opportunity to smash, y'all gonna sit around and say, oh, I smashed it better. A smash is a smash. Oh, I smashed it better. Bro, I wouldn't care if I got 3 pumps. So, I got my 3. You better get yourn. I got mine. You better get yourn. I wouldn't care, bro. You guys are the ones spinning this narrative now because you hate Devin. So you spin a narrative about now how George Kambosos or Loma knocked him out. Okay, cool. So if Loma knocked him out when he had 2 losses to Devin Haney, no problem, cool. So how are you now giving Richard Hitchens credit for fighting George Kambosos? Bro, so Devin beat him twice. He was undefeated with Devin. Y'all dragged him. Somehow you give him credit now for Lomachenko because Lomachenko stopped him. So somehow George Kambosos is the only guy that gets credit for getting knocked out. Somehow now, when it comes to fighting Lomachenko, this man gets all the credit in the world, even though he got washed at home by Devin twice for 24 rounds. But if he fights Lomachenko and he gets stopped now, all of a sudden now, he gets credit for getting stopped. Then he fights Richard Hitchens, gets stopped again, and now he got 3 losses. Two losses to Devin, back-to-back. Then he gets stopped by Lomachenko, and then Richard Hitchens stops him, and now all of a sudden Richard Hitchens is one of the greatest fighters in the world, and we need to see Devin versus Richard Hitchens. What the hell, Yante? Yo, what is going on, bro? Richard Hitchens, bro, you beat Devin's leftovers. And that gives you that now the world says we got to see Devin versus Richard Hitchens. We got to see Devin versus Toby. because he beat somebody that Devin washed when he was undefeated. He beat somebody that Devin washed when he was undefeated, that Lomachenko stopped, that Devin beat. He beat this guy, so that means now Devin, he's got to fight Devin and a partridge in a pear tree. Like, bro, Devin washed George Kambosos when George Kambosos, fresh off of beating Teofimo Lopez in New York. Devin went to his house and washed him. Neither one of these guys fought him in Australia. They fought this guy in America. So what are we talking about, bro? Well, I don't understand. When did George Kambosos, when did he elevate to the goods from being washed by Devin twice? And you guys saying that George Kambosos is cheeks, George Kambosos ain't good, George Kambosos ain't this, George Kambosos ain't that. And then all of a sudden, when George Kambosos fight Vasyl Lomachenko, now all of a sudden he's the goods. He gets stopped by Lomachenko. Now he's got 2 losses, 2 back-to-back losses to Devin, and he got stopped by Lomachenko. And mysteriously now, fighting Richard Hitchens, he's good again. Now Richard Hitchens out here like, bro, I've been telling y'all, man, I've been telling y'all, you got to put me up there with the Devin Haneys and the Shakur Stevensons and the Tank Davises. You got to put me up there because I told y'all how I'm good. I told y'all. I told y'all I'm going to do something to George Kambosos that, you know, Devin didn't do. Well, why did you skip Lomachenko? Because he stopped this man. Why are you tying yourself to Devin Haney? For what reason? Because if you are, then go to 147 and fight him. He said we could fight at 47. Don't worry about it. We'll speak about that in a different video. But I'm very, very curious of when George Kambosos became the goods after y'all dragged and disrespected the man when he fought Devin Haney. So he was only a bum when he was undefeated. He was garbage when he was undefeated. So when he beat Teofimo Lopez, he was the king of 35 because he was a number 1 ranked fighter, the lineal champion, and a number 1 ranked fighter at 135 when he beat Teofimo Lopez. He was 1, Tank was 2, and Devin was 3. Facts. So actually, let me take that back. He was 1. He was the champion. Tio was 1. Tank was 2. And Devin was 3. Well, since they don't do 1, it would have been Devin is 4 because the number 1 is the champion. So George Kambosos was the champion, number 1 in the champion. The number 2 guy was Tank Davis. No, Teofimo Lopez, I mean. The number 3 guy was Tank Davis. And the number 4 guy was Devin Haney. Facts. So then, when Devin beat George Kambosos, Devin became number 1. Devin became the champion at number 1. George Kambosos became the number 2 guy. Tank was number 3. And Teofimo Lopez was number 4. Facts. Then when Tio moved out, that's when everybody moved up and blah, blah, blah. But I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this and I'm just going to keep pointing out the fact that y'all just hate Devin Haney. So it doesn't matter who Devin fights. They're undefeated, knockout artists, boxers. He beats them. They're trash. They fight somebody else. All of a sudden, they're now good. They fight somebody else. All of a sudden, oh, well, I'm going to beat them better than Devin did. So they weren't good when they fought Devin. But somehow, some way, they're good to fight you, whoever. Bro, you guys can just keep it a stack with yourself, bro. You don't like Devin. It's okay. You don't know why you don't like Devin. You don't got to explain it. You ain't got to explain. You don't. You really don't. You don't got to explain. You don't like him. You don't like him. I know why. Because y'all are fans of other fighters and you believe that because you're fans of other fighters, you can't be a fan of Devin. But you know Devin is that guy because you talk about Devin in every conversation. You know Devin is that guy because his leftovers are somehow great after he fights them. Even if they get a knockout loss, they're still great to get another knockout loss. So now George Kambosos got 4 losses. He should have 5, but he got 4. 2 back-to-back to Devin in his prime. He got stopped by Lomachenko and he got stopped by Richard Hitchens at 140. So he got stopped by Loma at 35 and stopped by Richard Hitchens at 140. How did he even get a title shot? How did George Kambosos get a title shot? I don't see anybody crying about George Kambosos getting back-to-back title shots. I don't see nobody crying about it. I don't see nobody nowhere in this, oh, man, how did he get a title shot with Vasil Lomachenko, man? He didn't deserve it. You know, he was the IBO champion when he beat Maxie Hughes. He was the IBO champion. Facts. But somehow he got a shot at Vasil Lomachenko out of nowhere. Well, when he moved to 140, he fought an absolute dishwasher. How did he get a shot at Richard Toby Hitchens? How did he get a shot? I don't see y'all crying about that. Don't see it at all. Because y'all don't care. You only care if it's Devin Haney. If it's Devin, then now we got a problem. Now everything's got to be this and it's got to be that. And no, you can't. No, because no. But if it's somebody else, you guys don't mind at all. But you guys let me know. When did George Kambosos become the measuring stick? I'm trying to figure this out. And I'm just curious if one of you guys are going to call this out, that Devin beat George Kambosos when he was undefeated, and y'all said that George Kambosos was trash. And then, all of a sudden, he's good enough to fight Lomachenko when he didn't beat anybody. Arguably lost to Maxie Hughes. And if that's the case, if you guys running around here talk about, man, Devin, he arguably lost to Lomachenko, he should give him a rematch. Well, then shouldn't George Kambosos have given Maxie Hughes a rematch before he got a title shot? Of course y'all not going to address that. Of course. Because his name is not Devin Haney. Whatever. BFTB, man. Shout out to the mighty LDBC. I'm out. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, subscribe to my Patreon. And if you feel like supporting me, please support me in the PayPal or the Cash App.